Like the Greek myth Sisyphus, my husband believes that he can get grass to grow on this hill under a 70-year-old maple. Every spring, though, it looks like this. But just like Sisyphus, he's optimistic he can get it to work. So he reseeds it, he sprays it down, turns on the sprinklers. It's the optimistic belief he can grow grass under a 70-year-old maple. I'm not convinced. Meanwhile, everything else is growing so well that I cannot find the base of this, where I put this reflecting globe. It's somewhere in the garden, but it's overgrown enough that I can't find it. So, I'll just find a new spot for this. Hi everybody, I'm Lori, your Milkweeds and Roses gardener. A Zone 5B garden here in Iowa, where things are, wow, really taken off now. So much so that, yeah, it's easy to lose a few things in the garden. Isn't that a nice feeling? So, while the grass may struggle in a couple spots, I've got some hostas and all kinds of plants that are just really taken off. I'll give you a look, an update here on how everything is, and also let's go along and plant up some more spring containers. Time to dig into some annuals. I know it's a little early, but I just can't resist. How about you? Let's go. I'll bring this with me. So I started with that big pot next to the waterfall. It's on a dead tree stump. I decided this year to put a banana in. I know it's just an annual in my zone, but some of the best pictures of this planted container, I went back a couple years, and it was when I put a banana in here. But with a banana and a single red wave petunia, just two elements, because both of those need, frankly, a lot of root run in this container. So, and then I realized I had to level it up again because the stump is starting to settle, and that happens. The last step, of course, is to water, so I think this will look nice. Next, planting up hardy succulents in my birdhouse. So this is more of a decorative birdhouse, but I've got a base of chicken wire to hold the succulents in once they take root, because they keep sliding off here. So the first thing is to wedge them in place. I use some landscape pins, which stick out right now, but I cover them up eventually. So again, I just need something to hold these succulents in place until they root into the surface soil and the chicken wire on the bottom. So, I want to arrange them so this whole top will be covered and lush and vibrant. So just, kind of picked at this a little bit here, put them in place. In hindsight, I wish I did have more color varieties. This was a tray of hardy succulents that I ordered online. So I'll continue to go to my local garden center and pick through and see what makes it, what doesn't, and then add a few more for color later. In the end, though, I did end up liking how this went, but I wanted to cover up those landscape pins and find a way to secure the soil in place in case, well, when it does rain. So I found some crushed red rock for my garden beds, which isn't the look I wanted. It kind of contrasts with the river rock that we paid to put in there. So I just picked through those and added that to the top. So again, the weight will also keep the soil in place, and the rocks themselves will thwart chipmunks, which like to dig in everything. I added a little bit of decorative sand, but again, the last step here is to water. You could see the soil slipping as I water it, but again, once these root in, and it won't take that long, it'll stop the soil from running off during a rainstorm. So that's the plan. Next was planting up the little container at the top of the hill. I just put a single geranium in there, and here a single sweet potato vine and another geranium. Because at the top of the hill, I'm hoping that the sweet potato vine, how vigorous they are, it will drape and grow down the hill, which I think will be a nice, pretty green effect. And planting up the big planter Under the bird feeder, just put a vinca in here, some caladium, a fuchsia, lobelia, and some very small coleus. The lady head planter, the resting lady, I just put a single begonia in here. I don't know what variety, it was in a big box store, but I think it'll be pretty red blooms cascading over the top. And in the male head planter, Dichondra Silver Falls. Again, I want some trailing vine here and a single, well, actually 2 or 3 little tiny coleus in here. So the hope is some color and some drape. The front container urn, I just put in a coralline and some creeping jenny. There's some other little bulbs in here that are starting to wake up, so I'll keep my eye on it. Another big planter here, as you can see, well, I've got a lot of other planters yet to do. So this will be my next week project. Oh my goodness. I just have to take manageable bites because it's easy to get overwhelmed when I see all these empty containers and these big ones. Well, I know I'm going to put a rose in at least one of these. Meanwhile, I love the growth that's happening now. The azalea in the backyard, oh, nothing beats it in the morning sun. I think this is going to bloom up in the next couple of days. The first bud has started. And what I was concerned about, fairy tale bride cascading hydrangea, signs of life. And the milkweeds are coming back. So at least I can cross that worry off my list. Well, do you know what? I think I'm just going to end up putting it here. I want a spot where it gets plenty of light so you can see the reflection, at least in the morning. I think this would be a good spot. I'm gonna have to find a way to prop it up though. Have to get that. Yeah, that'll be pretty. Okay. And next time I'm gonna bring you along as we're starting some outdoor seeds. So again, it's a little bit early, but you know, this weather, we're certainly ahead of the zone right now. So let's just be optimists together, shall we? I hope that you subscribe and like this video, and we can keep track of how things are growing. Not just the annuals, the early annuals that we're putting in for color, but the perennials. Wow. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye.